I've been out here for over 20 years, showing and proving, presenting proper evidence, even the testimony from the children that was with Nicholas, who said that when the officer opened up that door and asked my son, "What are you doing here?" Nicholas dropped the plastic toy gun, said, we're only playing. The officer shot and killed them all anyway. Also, this officer had a habit of patrolling out the buildings in the community with his gun out, which was a complete violation of the law. This whole situation, I mean, it's a cover-up from the very beginning. Even they showed me some clothing that did not belong to my son. That's another thing. All of this evidence and stuff that they are presenting to close this case is false evidence, false testimony, fabricated lies. And I mean, something has to be done. We cannot allow and cannot accept this. And the thing that really upsets me is that this was supposed to have been investigated by the Civil Rights Division. How can we even have civil rights with uncivilized people doing an investigation? So sick and biased.
So we're here today to make a complaint to the Department of Investigation, which has the authority to investigate any elected official in the city for corruption or unethical behavior. You want to read those? So Noha can come and read what we're going to hopefully bring to them today.
So to Commissioner Mark Peters, my name is Nicholas Heyward Sr., and my 13-year-old son was killed by a police officer in 1994. After promising to reinvestigate the death of my son, the Brooklyn District Attorney's Office closed their investigation in a manner which has led me to conclude that the office has failed its duties and, I believe, covered up for the police department yet again and for the previous administration. Your office investigates official misconduct, which can include cases when a public servant is guilty of official misconduct when she deprives another person of a benefit and knowingly refrains from performing a duty that is clearly mandated by law or by his job. It is the duty of the district attorney to do justice, as the previous Brooklyn DA said so many times, and in this instance, justice has not been done. While I seek justice for my son's case specifically, the Brooklyn DA's choice not to investigate wrongdoing, cover-ups, and errors in District Attorney Charles Hines' initial investigation into the death of Nicholas Heyward Jr. all but ensures that similar tragedies and injustices will occur in the future. In fact, the death of Akai Gurley is very similar circumstances, is a direct result of the Hines administration's failure to require reforms following Nicholas Heyward Jr.'s death. Our complaints. When former District Attorney Ken Thompson agreed to reopen Nicholas's case, he assured me that he would look into both a possible criminal complaint against police officer Brian George, who killed Nicholas, and into the investigation that his predecessor had undertaken. There were vast discrepancies between the stories that Charles Hines told in the media about the case, what police officer George told his attorneys during depositions, and what witnesses have since said about the case. The initial investigation was at best poorly done, at worst a cover-up. During the course of this new investigation, members of the district attorney's office said things to me that were very concerning. For example, I was told that due to Peter Liang case, my son's case was too hot for the district attorney to look into at that time. I was also told that the investigation into my son's murder would not continue if I did not remove myself as a supporter of the Akai Gurley family and stopped rallying outside of their offices. When the Brooklyn DA's office told us that they had come to the same conclusion as Charles Hines' office, we pointed out problems with their investigation that they did not address. Material facts were overlooked. There were inconsistencies between statements and testimonies of police officer Brian George. There were disputes in witness testimony. Furthermore, assistant district attorneys who initially investigated my son's murder during the Hines administration still worked in the office, creating a clear conflict of interest. The Conviction Integrity Unit that the former district attorney Ken Thompson has highlighted as an important reform has never reopened a case where a current member of his office might have been found to have acted improperly. Clearly, members of the Brooklyn DA cannot investigate the prior actions of the office when there is overlap between administrations. In short, there are clear examples of politics playing a role in a place where they should not. This is official misconduct, or at best, highly unethical behaviors. In addition to this letter, we have filed a formal complaint with your office and await your response. We are prepared to provide additional documentation and testimony at that time. Sincerely, Nicholas Heyward Sr. and Nicholas Heyward Jr. Committee.
And just to give an example of some of the stuff that we're dealing with the district attorney's office, here's one of the attorneys working with Mr. Heyward.
So as you heard, it was the Heyward family, Nicholas Heyward Sr., who requested and pushed and prodded the office to re-investigate his son's case. At the conclusion of that investigation, they refused to give the Heyward family the investigation report, refused the victim's family any information about the investigation that he requested, that he asked, that he diligently participated in himself. They told Mr. Heyward that if he wanted the investigation report, he would have to request it using Freedom of Information law, put in a formal request, and wait for the office to respond from a completely different office, division of its office, to get paperwork and evidence of what the office did with the investigation. We put in that request in November. In January, months later, well past the time when it is normally where under the law they need to provide a response, the office provided us with the report. But this whole process shows the office's endemic disrespect for Mr. Heyward and the Heyward family, and of this process where a 13-year-old boy was killed by an officer in 1994 and there's still no accountability, no justice. It shows the office, moreover, wanting to hide its processes and decisions making to the Heyward family, but also to the public. What we received from the office was this report, and this is in response to a Freedom of Information law request that is rife with redactions.
Like one big redaction.
Most notably is this section, which is the applicable law. Get to it, past all these other redactions. The applicable law and conclusions. The applicable law that the office used and its conclusion. All of this is denied to Mr. Heyward and to the public. And this, we appealed this, and the office justified its redactions of this information under the law. But again, the office never needed to make the Heyward family rely on Freedom of Information law to get information about this investigation, to deny his family and deny the public insight into why the office chose not to convene a grand jury for now retired Officer Brian George. And all of these redactions, moreover, they're voluntary under the law, and the office chose to assert them to deny this information. And one thing that we did learn from this, what they did provide, is the absence of information. We learned that that while all the times they met with Mr. Heyward, they never considered those interviews, and they never included any information that Mr. Heyward provided the office with respect to his son, with respect to the shooting of his son, as part of their investigation. We know that that is absolutely absent from this investigation.
They never interviewed any of the boys. that were with his son.
I don't know if that's true. We don't know.
They did. Yeah, they did.
We don't know that because the names of those people and every single word from those interviews is redacted. But yeah, we don't know who, we don't know how many, we don't know whether their transcriptions of those interviews were accurate at all. So this is another reason why we're here and why we're submitting this. We're relying on the Department of Investigation to look into this office, to look into its processes over 2 administrations, denying justice and denying accountability.
And for that round, let's go give him a letter.
Is there anyone in there in particular, or is it just the office in general?
We're going to try and give a letter to the commissioner.
We ain't going to know the conclusion.
Right, it's one of those.
Not going to know the conclusion.
It's one of those places where you put it in, they don't have to reply.
Really?
Right.
They don't have to reply.
So, and they don't reply. Not only they don't reply.
So what's the purpose of them taking the information?
That it can have one of 3 outcomes. They can report something to the Conflict of Interest Board. They can recommend a criminal investigation, or they can draw up something in terms of policy. But they won't reply to us. If they need some more information for the investigation, they'll contact us. If we call them, they have no obligation to say what happens to it. So we could just go in there and you have no way of knowing.
In the meantime, Nicholas have to still suffer with the fact that his son been killed, been taken from him by this man. He's still suffering for that. Why is this man not paying for what he did? Why is there no justice being some kind of way? He shouldn't even been able to continue his job, period. How they let him stay on the force, continue his job all the way up until he retire and get a pension? That's not fair. That's not fair. He can't bring his son back. He can't bring his son back. So that's just like a double whammy that he took his son and then he's still living his life while he's still suffering. That's crazy.